What's up YouTube? Welcome to today's video where I'm going over my Bone Zone character. And it is Boneshatter. I did decide to try out the BPL. And in the BPL I decided to try out Boneshatter because it's pretty much an ability I haven't tried out before. And it is pretty good for clear. Now, its main strength in my opinion is definitely how fast you can progress your Atlas with low gear levels. Its endgame scaling leaves much to be desired, but theoretically, it should be enough to do the Ubers. Now, I have played a lot of SSF before in the past, and I did finish the 2 Void Stones roughly in like 9.5 hours or 9 hours or so. So it's a little bit slower to Venom Gyre. And it was pretty much a lot worse because it was kind of hard to find currency still. Now, I want to show you something that happened in the BPL that it kind of happened again. I know how everyone remembered last time, if you followed me in the past, that I actually ended up dropping Omni on my first quest invite. Well, this is a quest eater at this point, and yeah, the damage for this build is nothing to write home about. It's not too shabby, but this is with a tabula, like a 400 DPS two-handed axe. I think I'm actually using Sinvicta's metal in this, or I'm using, what's it called, a Despot axe or a Despot axe. I don't know what it's called. But as you can see, the Slayer Overleash is pretty good. One nice thing about the build nowadays is that the fortified duration actually lasts a very, very long time. And for bossing, it's always cool when you get him to 20%, something ends up, you'll just end up getting cold because of Slayer Cold. So any second now, as you can see, the boss does take a while. But I did do this boss deathless. And I do think that Boneshatter does have some potential maybe in a softcore trade environment. But I do think that there's just too many other options. Now, what is that? Right there. I didn't even notice what I actually picked up. I didn't even comprehend what I picked up because no one expects to get an Ashes on their quest invitation. Eventually, I will notice it from my chat and I'll be like, wow, I got an Ashes. But pretty cool because the Ashes is pretty useful.
I got Ashes? Oh shit, I didn't even realize that. Whoops.
Yeah, it's not that well rolled, but you want to see what the roll is now in case you are wondering. It's at 20%. I did one divine and it divided it into this. I kind of need some oils though to get the right annoyance, but as you can see, this is my character and this is going to be a build diary. So this event lasts for 4 days long. Probably going to make 1 or 2 update videos throughout the event, and then you can follow me along on my journey. So what is BPL? You might be wondering. BPL is a team event where 4 teams are racing to complete a set of challenges, bounties, boss kills, and daily quests. So you can see here there's a ladder, and then there's a daily quest section. There's the unique sets you have to turn in, and then there's bounties that you can complete for bosses, and then there's the dreaded heist, where people throw away their soul in trying to find alternate quality gems and hopefully anomalous Boneshatter. And you can see here, I'm on Team Gryffindor. Unicorn Dragon is way ahead somehow. I don't really know why, but it's just how it is. So you can see here, these are the points you get for 38 unique sets, points for dailies, points for rogue items. I don't even know what that is. Gems, and then replicas, and bounties, and then delve. So there's a lot of different things that you can get points for. So everyone can kind of participate. And even for the boss bounties, before you could actually get credit for killing Uber Aziri, you have to have your team farm 50 Aziri's Promise. So it's not just some super rush fest where one person can claim all of the bounties. You actually need to make a team effort, which is kind of cool this time around. As I said, I did try out Boneshatter because I never played it before, and this is pretty much my Atlas progression now. And it was pretty much all SSF. I tried to not take any gear from the guild or the team as possible, so I was still using a tabula by the time I got around to Eater. And I did finish the Void Stones in around 9 hours of playtime. So let's go over the build and what we are actually rocking. So for the character, we are using a Despot Axe because it has the highest attack speed base. I think its base attack speed is 1.45. And for this build, you kind of want to not be locked into your attack animation. The faster you attack, the better it will feel. Now, we do have a weapon swap here with Sinvicta's metal. This is pretty much used to, you can kill monsters with the Boneshatter right here. And then you weapon swap back. And then you're able to get Rampage up for the rest of the map. So it's pretty important. But overall, my helmet right here, I actually got Frostblink cooldown recovery. I got this in Merciless or Uber Lab. And I pretty much spammed the essence of loading on it so I can get some reservation efficiency. And you can see here, my mana is actually pretty low. And in order to even proc Warlord's Mark, I actually can't even proc Warlord's Mark. So I need to fix that before I start playing again. Now, accuracy on rings, gloves, or helmets to run precise technique. So for people who don't know what precise technique is, it gives you more attack damage if your accuracy rating is higher than life. So that's a pretty important thing. So you have to get accuracy rating. So you can see here I have, at least once I turn on precision, I have 4983 accuracy, and that's actually higher than the life pool. So I'm fine. So in order to achieve that, I actually had to get one piece of accuracy rating on my gloves, and then I have some accuracy rating on my ring. So it actually helps out a lot. So you need like 2 pieces of accuracy total. Not too crazy to get, but definitely annoying in terms of gearing. And like I said, if you're getting accuracy on your gear, it makes it a lot harder to get spell suppressed. For instance, that roll on the gloves could be a spell suppression roll, or roll on the helmet. So trying to get precise technique and spell suppression is kind of a foolish venture, if you might say, especially at this stage of the league. And it's very, very hard. And you can see right now I have some resist problems. My fire res is way too high, and then my cold and lightning res or my fire res is way too low, and my cold and lightning res are way too high. So I'm trying to tinker around with it and try to fix it up. I did upgrade out of the tabula. This was the tabula as I was using a +2 trap and mind gems tabula. And I did upgrade to a glorious play with max res and pride aura effect, which should help out the damage a lot and survivability. And since we don't have 100% spell suppression, being able to have like 80% res is a pretty nice benefit, because 100% spell suppress is like 87.5 max res. So getting 80% does help out a little bit, but once you get 100% spell suppression and 80% max res, the character should feel a lot more unkillable. Now, there are a lot of different build options for Boneshatter that I learned, and number 1 is Maces versus Axe. Eventually, you want to get Axe so you can stun the boss with Warlord's Mark and be able to generate rage that way and be able to keep up Berserk. And then there's also something about Impale and no Impale. So pretty much Impale is free damage as long as it's pretty point efficient and you can get it on your Axe. So right now I have Axe, 90% chance to Impale on hit with attacks. And then I did take 1 cluster over here with Harpooner. And eventually I want to take this cluster over here. So I'll have around probably 90% chance to Impale. And I hopefully that increases the single target a lot more, because single target is really the main issue of this build. And then, of course, we have precise technique, no precise technique. This is pretty much 40% more damage, but you have to sacrifice a few suffixes on your gear for a build that's already pretty point starved. And stat starved. So as you can see here, we're pretty much going out over here. We get Volpack for the Slayer Overleech. And then we get these nodes over here, Vitality Void, Precise Technique. We do take Thick Skin. And then we were taking these nodes. I should probably take Executioner, as it does give you increased AoE if you kill recently, and Wrecking Balls over here. And then we have 1 Aura Cluster. Technically, one day we could make it up here, but I don't think it's actually feasible for this build. You kind of have a very compact skill tree. And something that's interesting to know is you do play with Ancestral Cry on left click with Call to Arms. So what this does is this actually makes it so your buff grants +2 melee strike range per 5 power. So you can actually theoretically get +6 strikes with Ancestral Cry for your 8 attacks, which is a huge, huge deal. And someone actually just found an Aegis Aurora. Pretty nuts, right? So let's see. There's a lot of different options for the build. I'm still learning it as I go. I do see a lot of people trying out different things. I was looking at Karn. And then you can even play this build on a champion. So there's a lot of cool things. And that's kind of the fun part about PoE, is the build discovery portion where you're trying to optimize your build. And then you're learning all of these cool intricacies that can work for the build. And let's talk about the strengths and weaknesses. So I do think the main strength for Boneshatter is definitely the incredible map clear you get for your gear investment level. There's nothing that really comes close. Venom Jar is pretty good. It has probably better map clear than Boneshatter, but you do need some level of gear on Venom Jar before you can get to that level. For this build, you can pretty much just rock rares with Life and Resist, an axe that you spam with Contempt until you get attack speed, craft on a % Viz roll, and then you're pretty much ready to go. You really need no gear at all in order to clear the map, and you can do this all the way to Void Stones. So you can probably kill Maven, you kill Uber Elder super easily. But the big problem is that you will struggle hard on Uber bosses without perfect gear. I think doing Uber bosses is a bit of a stretch on this build unless you're very skilled or you have very, very good gear. Now, the main problem with this build is definitely the true melee playstyle, and you pretty much have to be right on top of the boss. So you kind of have to pass a defense check in a sort of way, because if you aren't able to take some hits, you're pretty much just going to be running around in a circle all the time, and your damage that's already kind of low on PoE is going to be even lower because your uptime is going to be bad. Now, in order to do optimal damage, you kind of want to be placing down 2 totems. So you want to be placing down Ancestral Protector, and then you also want to be placing down Ancestral War Chief. So it's actually a very, very micro-intensive build in terms of that you have to be putting down totems all the time. And some people even a lot to go Panopticon, because Panopticon is a huge DPS increase, and 50% increased effect of your buff totems is actually just crazy. So totems are definitely a huge portion of this build's damage scaling. And I do think that this build has bad endgame scaling due to no crit option. Until you get like perfect gear, going crit is not really feasible. You will probably have a very, very difficult time breaking the 15 to 20 mil DPS barrier, if that's even possible. And I do think the map clear on Boneshatter is still worse than some of the top tier clear speed builds. It's probably going to be slower to Tornado Shot. It's probably going to be slower to Venom Jar. It's going to be slower to Winter Orb or Blade Vortex. But in terms of the first day of the league, it's probably one of the best options for builds that you can play to finish up your Atlas. Now, overall, I will try to do Ubers on Boneshatter during BPL. Who knows? I might even buy a microtransaction. Let me know which one I should buy before I actually pull the trigger. I actually hope there is a Boneshatter MTX. Wow, they just released a Boneshatter MTX. Should we actually go look at this? Okay, let's go take a look at it together so we can decide if we actually want to buy this MTX. Because who knows, maybe this will make the skill look a lot better. But $15 for MTX is kind of lame. It's kind of like if you have Celestial Herald. Why is this video so downvoted? Weird. To see the actual AoE. So people aren't very happy because it's too cookie cutter. This looks so bad. Celestial Theme doesn't fit in. I'll probably buy it just to prove the people wrong, right? So we'll see how that goes. But Slayer Overleash does feel really, really good to play with Volpact. It kind of feels like a health potion running 24/7. So you don't really die until you get one-shotted. And some notes that I had while lovely is I did find 4 Currency God Touch, and they were all bad. I think one of them actually dropped 2 alks. I'm not even kidding you. So without Magic Find, God Touch hunting is pretty trash. So I can definitely see where people hate the league without God Touch, without Magic Find. And Arch Nemesis still feels absolutely awful to play on melee. A true melee. Doing essences where they feel harder than a boss is a real eye-opening experience that the game balance is probably not tuned where it needs to be currently. So some suggestions I have for GGG is maybe make the map bosses tankier, or maybe give the map bosses some Arch Nemesis mods, right? Let me know down in the comments if you believe that should be the solution. I'm just kidding. Don't hate me. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you find more Mirrors, Exalted Orbs, Divines, and Mage Bloods than me. And see you next time. Bye.